I'll send Spence your love. Be well.
Rebbe, welcome back.
See, I got people. The zoo is operating properly. What? The zoo is operating. Yeah. Everything's on.
I heard you needed to call in the cavalry. Let's see.
I hear that. I saw a guy with pajamas today.
Oh, yeah.
We all had 7 Brookline police around last week. It's about 45 minutes in.
They didn't ask for a
He
chat.
thanked me. He said he's got better medicine. As a result of it, he got better medication.
I was shocked to see him return.
That's amazing.
5 to 6 times. But at least with no knife. Okay.
In the dog.
Okay, now we are learning about different chumras that you have vis-a-vis produce of shvius. So the first part of the Mishnah deals with a problem about causing hezek or damage to shvius, which you're not allowed to even inadvertently cause. Now we're going to talk about a different type of circumstance. We're going to be talking about the situation of something that takes over the shvius because you decided on your own accord to try to use it for commercial purposes and redeem it technically. So we say it cannot be redeemed. So the Mishnah says, "Ba'achrin or money that has a din of shvius, the halacha is that it has a kedusha shvius. Now the new item, and the latter item now has a kedusha shvius, with the exception we'll see of when the original item itself, that always keeps its kedusha shvius. And we're going to go into explaining this halacha. So the Mishnah says, "Ba'achrin with the perish of shvius." So you exchanged it. You did a barter, and you exchanged meat for produce of shvius. Is the halacha nitves habosa b'kedusha shvius? That now the bossa gets the kedusha shvius as well. Not only is that original shvius, but the bossa also gets the shvius. Well, let's say you went a step further, and you took from this meat and you bartered with it to buy fish because you like fish better. We say you don't have 3 steps of shvius. The dagim takes the place of the bossa, and now the dagim has a kedusha shvius. That second one, the secondary one, now goes out. So you have not only number 1 and number 3, the shvius, original produce, and the dagim. Now dagim tmuris shemen. Now you bartered the fish for oil. So you have a number 4 stage. It's Hashem Nasa Kodesh B'Kedusha Shvius. The Shemen now takes the place of the fish, and so on and so forth. That the halacha is that the first item and the latter item have the Kedusha Shvius. You don't have 10 Kedusha Shvius. Concept, it says by the din of the Jubilee year, not Shvius, the 7th year, but the actual Jubilee year, which is comparable to Shvius. The Torah says that the Jubilee year is Kodesh, meaning that the thing becomes Hegdish. Just like when you redeem something from Hegdish, the item that you used in the redemption was, let's say, money, becomes now Hegdish. Kach b'shvius, Domim by divrei machal and tam tmush perish shvius was the same halacha by shvius, that the food item that you exchange for the perish of shvius nitvosim b'kedusha shvius now has a din of shvius. Va'pri, but the original fruit, atzmai osir. That's prohibited under all circumstances, meaning the original item always stays prohibited. Now he explains that number one always stays prohibited, and only the latter one is now a kedusha shvi. So you don't get 10 times the penalty. It'll be the first one and the latter one. Meaning, even though when you went and exchanged that original item for basa, you did a bargain. Only from the second one and onwards do we say when you exchange the basa for dagim, the kedusha goes now to the fish. It's always the latter one. Now it's on the oil. The fish go out to chulin. It has the sanctity of shvius. This is also has to do, like we said, because the Torah makes a comparison between shvius, the kedusha of shvius, to the kedusha of hegdish. Aposik melamdenu. What is the Torah coming to teach us? That aposik she'af al b'isha kedushas perish shvius shavu lehegdish bekat. She tefesses says the mel, it takes over that money you use in exchange. There is a definitive distinction between hegdish and shvius. Behegdish, when it comes to hegdish, when you give money in exchange for hegdish, the hegdish. Let's say you have a hammer that someone who was magdish a hammer to the Bedek Habayis for the chambers of hegdish for the use of hegdish, and now you exchange that hammer, and the hammer cost $20, and you went and gave $20 in exchange. So then the hammer goes out to chulin, and the money becomes hegdish. What does it mean? Tia, a lashon havaya, that it's emphatic, that it stays in its state. That it stays in its original state. That fruit, that produce, that had the original kedusha, so it always stays with its kedusha, and it never loses its kedusha. So as much as you try to get it off, it will never help unless there are certain circumstances when you need it for food items or whatever, which we're not going to go into at this time. But that's what the Mishnah says, that so causing damage to shvius, even inadvertently, or that's how most Rishonim learn, or a second item that the kedusha of shvius only stays on item number one and the last item that you bartered with. That ends this Mishnah. Now we continue on to the next Mishnah, which is Mishnah Ches. as a introduction to Mishnah Ches of Perik Ches. So we have a double Ches over here. Yeah. He explains here from the Siyat D'Shmaya, which has very good akdomis on each and every single Mishnah. If let's say you have money, you have money of Shvius. Meaning you bartered, you made a big boo-boo, and you used money to exchange for Shvius. So we already said that not only does the produce have a din of Shvius, but the money as well has a din of Shvius. Or you actually had the original item of Shvius, the fruits, personal needs. Let's say you have potatoes of Shvius, and you want to have a vegetable salad. You had enough of the carbohydrates. So the halacha is you're allowed to use it for your own personal usage, be it eating, drinking, or using for anointing. But any other type of need, with the exception of these three items, which is your own personal needs, also it's prohibited to use even if you're not using it for merchandise. So if let's say you want to buy a screwdriver, you need a screwdriver in the house, and you want to go ahead and use the Demei Shvius for your own personal needs, you have to screw in something to the wall. It will not work. It's prohibited. The ksiv, because it says in the Torah L'achla, when you go ahead and use it, you can only use it for your own personal needs of consumption. So the different types of consumption. You have eating, drinking, and anointing. Smearing. That's what the Mishnah is going to be dealing with over here. So the Mishnah says, Ein loichim, you do not buy with produce of shvius, avodim, slaves, v'karkois, or real estate, ubehemetmeya, or an animal that's non-kosher, so you can't eat it, midvei shvius, from the monies of shvius. Vim lokach, if let's say you did do it, yoichel connected. What you have to do on your own personal basis, you don't have any longer the shvius. So the halacha is that you have to take other items. Let's say it was a value of $50 of potatoes. You have to go ahead and get $50 of an item that's used for human consumption, the amount of the value of your shvius, and eat it. That you have to eat with all the ramifications of kedusha shvius, which we'll explain shortly. Zokta beer over here. Le'el, previously, limda mishnah shemut l'shtam shepei shvius rak la'achila, or l'tzarcham hadoim lo. We already said that you can use produce of shvius for consumption or for other types of needs which are comparable. In the same vein, you're not allowed to use it as a barter only for items of consumption. And on that account, it's also liknus b'mavodim, slaves, or for real estate, or a non-kosher animal. These items, you can't eat your slave. You can't go ahead and eat the ground, the earth. You can't go ahead and eat a behemoth's mayor. So therefore, you can't use it for this type of barter. Haramban Mevayim. Ramban adds a caveat over here, and he says, "Shemash oslet the peish v'yisay b'demei drum she'enerum lachila." Kigon elam skirmish the same, like we said, for human consumption. Because if you're going to go ahead and buy a slave with and use it as barter for the shvius, l'chol alim kiddush shvius. Hu mishum shekishekoyin dvam sheyesh l'knam behem kiddush shvius, l'chol alim kiddush shvius. You can't say there's going to be a kiddush shvius on a servant. Umevatel b'kachas din la'achla. You can't go ahead and eat your slave. She never prays shvius. Umitamzeh koyin b'mei shvius kol dov she'er rel kiddush shvius. You go to choluk. You want to go ahead and buy a jacket for it, a shar kalim, or you want to go ahead and buy it used on a frying pan, it will be prohibited. Now, okay. However, let's say you went ahead and did it anyway. You did the wrong move. You were naughty, and you did the wrong move. It doesn't get a kedusha shvius. That Evid will not have, because we already said that if you go ahead and buy oil with it for commercial purposes, not for personal purposes, or you went ahead and bought meat and fish with it for commercial purposes. So we say that that item gets kedusha shvius. Over here, when you buy a slave, you're not going to have any kedusha shvius. So on that account, the moyis stays in its original situation, and you exchange it with money. So he said that money gets a kedusha shvius. Now you went to bought an eved with it. So we say the eved can't have a kedusha shvius. It's an impossibility, because how's a person going to have a kedusha shvius? So we say, normally we say that if you go 1 to 2 to 3, we say 2 drops the kedusha shvius and 3 gets the kedusha shvius. And then if you get it number 4, 4 gets the kedusha shvius and 3 drops it. Over here, since it can't go. Now, over here, when the Mishnah mentions that you can't buy an item like a behemoth tmeya, it seems to imply that the problem is buying a behemoth tmeya. But let's say you buy a behemoth Torah. You buy an ox with it. No problem. Why? You would say, it makes sense that there's a kedusha shvius on the behemoth Torah because you can check it and you can eat the piece of meat. Or you buy fish with it. No problem. The Mishnah mashma shemutlik it's behemoth Torah with shvius. It's allowed. What's the reasoning? Because you can eat it. And you'll eat it with the kedusha shvius. Kachu omnan halacha midin Torah. That's very good and well if you're dealing exclusively what the Torah allows you. Ulam chachamim asru liknas behemoth Torahs le'neshchita b'dmei shvius. The chachamim did not allow you to do it. Why? Because of a special takana which we have in Chazal. It's a Gemara Masechta Sukkah that you can't buy even the behemoth Torah. What do you mean? It says only behemoth Torah. Behemoth Torah is only midrabanan. And the problem then is because it looks like you're using it for merchandise purposes. Because technically when you get that's prohibited. And that's the first halacha over here. That it has to be something to get the kedusha, has to be something that you can eat. Otherwise, the kedusha is not chal on these things. Even if it's merchandise purposes or whatever, kedusha can't be chal on something that's impossible to eat. We'll continue mentioning tomorrow. Mitzvahs. Shenemar Adonai Chofetz Amatziko Yavul Torah